Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Showcase, powered by The Difference. I'm Lyndon Wilson, the host. Just to give you a little bit of background of what the Saturday Showcase is, obviously, The Difference is all about small businesses, local professionals, and the people that really are the heartbeat of all of our communities, all the powerful things they do in and out of their profession. And so we felt that it was very important to be able to spotlight these folks. There's amazing people out there, and they go beyond the business. And so, in order for us to really decide who we want to do business with, I think it's really important sometimes. Obviously, people have heard of the know, like, and trust factor. We feel like bringing people on this show allows you to get to know them as a person, not just a professional, and hear a little bit about their story, about their passion. You always hear that, what's the passion for why you got into what you're doing now? And so that's a little bit about the Saturday Showcase. Now, today's guest is Paul Fisher. Paul and I met probably maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer. Time flies. But I'm going to bring Paul in now. And Paul, welcome to the show. Glad you can make it.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm glad to have you. We had a mutual friend that introduced us, and that's kind of the way the difference has been since day one. We're trying to form that community and be a good referral and introductory source for small businesses. But I wanted to go beyond that networking and create some video properties here that allow you to get your message out to people that may not know you yet. And so as we sat down and we talked, obviously had a lot in common. I enjoyed our conversation, but now I want to be able to let you tell everybody else kind of what you told me that day, and just bring the spotlight on Paul Fisher and Certainty Home Lending and a little bit about that. So, Paul, let's get started. We
Okay.
only have about 20 minutes, unfortunately, but
Fair enough.
I want you to tell everybody who you are, a little bit about your company. We talked before about how you got started. Share a little bit about that, and it's just a kind of a brief overview of who you are and how you got started.
Okay. Well, my name is Paul Fisher. I'm a mortgage lender with Certainty Home Lending. We are actually, our corporate office is here in Plano, which is where I office out of. And then, of course, we've got most of our states that we do business in are from Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, all up the eastern seaboard. And so I've been with Certainty for 2 years. I was in hospitality industry for 25 years prior to coming over to the mortgage side. So, the quick piece about that was when COVID hit, it was kind of uncertain on what hospitality was going to do. And my wife has actually been in the mortgage business for 30 years. So I kind of followed her into it after I decided to, take a break and maybe retire from hospitality for a while. But yeah, I was with, I did, hospitality. I was in golf and country clubs for the better part of that 20 years. And most recently, I was executive chef and director of food and beverage for Dallas National Golf Club, where I was there for 15 years. So, I always tell people that, hospitality is a lot like mortgages. I mean, you have to do the right thing, and it is completely customer service. The only difference is the product. But yeah, I've been here with Certainty for 2 years, and excited about all the growth in the area.
That's awesome. And we did talk about that before, just how important it is to be that resource for people, not just a very knowledgeable person about mortgages, but you've got to be someone there that helps with the anxiety and the pressure of that's it's a we I mentioned before just how strenuous it is. You're making this huge investment and going through a process many people have never gone through before. And if you have gone through it, you don't go through it every day, every week, every month. It's several years apart. And I'm sure you've already experienced being in mortgage that's kind of a moving target sometimes. What happened 2 years ago is not happening now. Things change and things are different. And so how I bought my house and financed it 6 years ago is going to be completely different than how I go about it now, even though there's going to be some similarities. So having that experience of hospitality and understanding how to really address people and put them at ease, I think is very important.
It is.
Paul,
I
you
mean,
said your wife
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Lynn.
well, you said your wife had been in the mortgage industry for 30 years. So you've been in it for two, but you've been exposed to everything, I'm sure, for a very long
Oh my
time.
gosh, yeah. I mean, you kind of learn the lingo first, and be able to be in the conversation. I mean, I had a business finance degree from Baylor, and so I could stick with it pretty good, and that's quite honestly helped me make the transition fairly quickly and easily. Because math is math, but at the end of the day, it's people, and you want to do the right thing. I mean, that's you just don't ever want to get penalized for doing the right thing, and that's one of the great things about certainty. And even with this business, is that you can genuinely help people, to get the American dream, or get their first house, or their second house, or whatever it is, and just provide a solution. And gosh, it should be a fun experience. I mean, people think, it should be enjoyable. I mean, it should be exciting. It's almost like getting your first car.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you get your first house, or your step up house. I mean, it should be fun. And so
Yeah.
you gotta have to take some of the stress out of it, and not make it too complicated.
So that brings me to our next point. When I talk to different business owners and I'm trying to find out, what was their motivating factor for getting what they do, a lot of them have experience. Some of them get into businesses they've never been in before because they just feel a calling. It's a service business. And they feel like, I want to help people. And I think that's a great way. I think that'd be a fun career. The fact that you were exposed to a lot of what happens and what's gone on in the mortgage business over the years, when you got ready, when you decided to pull the trigger and make that move, let's talk a little bit about what you felt you were going to be able to bring to the table that might be um, addressing some of the biggest challenges that you've seen people experience through the mortgage industry, or other people. I'm sure you had conversations with your wife, and a lot of them were the victory success stories, and then some of them were, we're overcoming this challenge, and this is so you got to have a taste of that a little bit before you ever got into it.
Yeah, I
What
think.
was it?
I thought. Well, I
Real
think.
quick, what was it? What was it when you decided to get in that you really wanted to focus on more than anything else?
Well, I think it's being timely. One of the things that I never liked was being the kind of kept waiting, or seeing if, like, are they going to call me back, or is this thing going to go through? I mean, and that could happen whether it's hospitality or mortgage. But the biggest
Mhm.
thing for me was timeliness, and answering the phone call, and returning phone calls, and being a good communicator. I had a fairly large staff, and even with all the places that I've been at, have had big staff. That communication is key. I mean, you have to let people need to know what's going on. And so, that was the biggest thing that I saw, coming into this business, is that, it either be, just, emails, or it'd be, I'll get them later, or that type of thing. And so that's been the biggest call to arms for me, is to be, available, and not leave people hanging. I mean, it's like you said, I mean, people don't do this every day. And so if you've got a client or a customer that, gosh, am I pre-approved, or, what does my credit look like, or can I get this house? We need to make an offer. I mean, people are waiting. And so, I mean, I think you have to be available. I mean, I was always available, with hospitality. I mean, sometimes that's a 24/7 type job. And I think the same is true for this. I mean, you need to be available to answer questions. And I mean, it could be a text, I'll get you back later. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen is, whether it's referral partners, or customers, you just let people know that you receive the message, and you either get back with them then, or get back with them soon.
Absolutely. What was it that when you obviously wanted to make sure that that was your calling card, so to speak, and your strength? What was it that you decided in going into this industry that you were going to be able to remind yourself? I'm going to give you an example because I feel the same way. I was in mortgage one time, and I came up with an acronym, and I share it with people all the time, and everybody loves it. It was called CARE. How do I show I care? And it was to be a good communicator, be accessible, be responsive, and be engaged. And if I could do all four of those things, there is no doubt that I knew my customers would know that I cared. So share a little bit about how when you got in here, you were determined to show that commitment to being a good communicator and keeping everybody informed. And I will add this: if you don't know, it's easy to communicate the positive stuff. And if anybody's ever gone through a home buying, there's going to be some challenges, and that is really a lot of times that people fail because it's hard to call somebody and tell them something's not going as well as we thought. So, Paul, talk about that. Tell everybody how you handle those two different situations.
Well, I think, well, you always kind of start with the bad news first. I mean, you just have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. I mean, because the longer you put it off, you'll either talk yourself out of it or hope that it'll fix itself. Yeah, you have to go for it. And but if you have set up yourself some sort of rapport relationship, whether it's the realtor or whoever the referral source is, or if it's the obviously your home buyer. I think if you have a rapport or some sort of relationship where they know you and you're not just an 800 number for somewhere else. I mean, I think a lot of, there's some companies out there that are just an 800 number. And if you call that number and you get Joe the first time and you get Sam the next time. And so, I always tell people, I said, my phone numbers are on my card and there's no 800 number. When you call me, you get me. And then, the same as with email. I mean, it's, you have to be, like I said, be there and like you said, you have to care. But I think if you have a relationship with, your home buyers, the bad news can, not be so bad if it's not, just kind of blasted at them and, things of that nature. So it's a relationship business, just like hospitality was, and this is certainly, because like you said, it's their the biggest investment they're going to make, and you want it to be positive.
Well, my mic was muted. I used to have a coach that always said, if it were easy, everybody would do it, right?
That's right.
And I think that some of the strengths that we show and for people to understand this, it's kind of like Murphy's Law. If something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen, right? And so having that fix-it strategy, I think is what gives us as individuals in whatever profession we're in our uniqueness. And so you're not going to make a great impression on everybody if they decide to go with Paul and whatever realtor it is and everything flows just like honey. But it's those challenges that where you get a chance to impress people, right? Where they look at you and they go, "Oh my gosh, you really fought for me." And if people don't think that there are not so many challenges in the home buying process, there's a lot of times these realtors and these loan officers are fighting behind the scenes for the client, and the client never knows. They come out thinking that it was just such a smooth process, but the people behind the scenes they're scratching and clawing and doing everything they can. And so I think that's that is a huge value, Paul. And again, under having that experience in the hospitality industry, I think gives you a huge advantage of understanding how to communicate with people and keep people happy.
Well, and it does, and I mean that kind of sets us up to, when I saw some of the issues with, how communication was going, or callbacks, or the buyer not knowing what's going on, or if there was a problem, how do you handle it? We kind of set up or decided on how I wanted my process to be to kind of handle those problems before they arise. And so typically my process, after I get a loan application, I'm able to talk to the buyer and kind of see what their home ownership goals are. I mean, it just, some of those, people forget simple conversations are the kind of the way to get it started. We're so, zoomed in, and it's either phone call or email, or, I mean, no one's ever really face to face too much anymore. But I decided that I wanted to if I was going to make this as a kind of a smooth and seamless and enjoyable experience, there had to be something that we could do that maybe the buyers, didn't know what we were doing in the background. So typically when I take my application and I try to get all their, asset and income information up front, and we'll get that together, and then they may get their pre-qualification letter to go shop with houses for with their realtor. But in the background, I've got my processing team doing all the credit approvals in the background, just kind of working behind the scenes. And that's kind of another thing that's great about our company is that all of our employees work for certainty. So our processors work for the company,
Mhm.
our underwriters work for certainty. We fund all of our own loans. Our funders, our closers, all work for certainty. So it's not brokered out or farmed out to somebody and that might be 10 states away. I mean, we're all in our home offices and our states that our company services. And I think that's a big deal because I know who my processors are. I mean, they stay on my team, and I know who the underwriters are. I mean, we all know each other, and so it's not just Paul Fisher number 502 has got a loan in. I mean, we give them a story about the buyer. And so
And
while the realtor and the buyer might be going to look at houses and things like that, we're over here on the back end and just kind of churning away to make sure that when they do get that contract, we've got a lot of the questions already answered. So it helps it keep it very smooth.
I think that you just mentioned something that I think is so important when considering who to partner with, uh, whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's a mortgage guy, but especially mortgage, is the fact that because you have everything in house,
Hmm.
you have relationships with those people. Therefore, you have some influence, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, if it's Paul Fisher 506, and I'm somewhere in another state, and I get a call from Paul Fisher 506, I don't know who you are, what you want, and I really don't care. I've got 10 files in front of me, and I'm just going, and I have no
You
emotion
just
for
yeah.
those files whatsoever. I'm going through them one at a time. The
No,
relationships the relationships you have in office, you can reach out to someone. Not that it happens every time, but you can reach out and say, "Look, this is kind of a 911 emergency here,
mhm.
and can we do this or can we do that?" And I hate to use the word pull strings because it's not like that, but people can understand through you the importance of showing some special attention at that particular moment to a file.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to that initial phone call with your buyer, with your customer. The biggest thing that I do is I create a story, and so I may make it might be bullet points or it might, but it's a story about these people. And so I always include that with my processing team. It's like here's the story. Here's who they are, so they get a glimpse of Paul's got to know these people, and they're kind of invested in their home ownership goals as well, and so that is probably our greatest asset as a company is that we know each other across lines, regardless of the department you're in or if you're in another state. This company has been around for 22 years, and most of the same people have been here. So I think it's great. I mean, it makes it good when you've got true teammates on this team to help get
Yes.
these folks to the finish line.
Well, Paul, we've got about a minute and a half left. Through the show, Paul's information has been scrolling at the bottom. But, Paul, I want you to share with everybody how you'd like for them to reach out to you, why they should reach out to you. And I'll let you talk about that. Then we'll get ready to close it out.
Okay, doke. Well, so my website is probably scrolling across the bottom of the page. So it's loansbyfisher.com. And then my office number is on there as well, 469-397-0873. But yeah, please. And then of course, Facebook, business Facebook is on there, but please, give me a call or, go to my website. And of course I'll be here on the difference, I think for this year. So I'm excited about
Yes.
that. But our business, whether someone does a loan with me or not, it's connecting people, and it's being local to the market. I'm a member of the Frisco Chamber of Ambassadors, and it's connecting people and kind of being local to the market. I mean, I love not having an 800 number attached to us. We live here. I mean, we're local here, and we're part of the community, and so I think that goes a long way. To have people that are invested in your time and in your community.
Right. Well, Paul, that's all the time we got for today. I am going to let you close us out, and I appreciate you being on today, and everybody tune in to this. This will be coming on our Saturday showcases, and so you'll get to see Paul quite a bit. Paul will be part of the Difference Network. And he's going to be part of a lot of shows that we have, and we're excited to have Paul as a new partner for us. But Paul, thank you again, and I'll let you close it out.
Well, Lyndon, thank you for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure to be on here today, and I am looking forward to some more discussions, with the rest of the group, and getting some guests in here, and just seeing how we can make a difference.
All right, man. Thank you very much, and everybody, we'll see you on our next Saturday showcase.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for tuning in and watching our show. If you would like to see our next show, or more shows like this one, just click the QR code and go to show schedules, or just follow and subscribe to our channels to get updates and notifications of this show, and many others like it.